Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's Family Office Network's webinar series. We are excited to have Christopher Shaber, President and CEO of Soligenix, joining us today. Soligenix is a late-stage biopharmaceutical company focused on developing and commercializing products to treat rare diseases where there is an unmet medical need. Chris will be doing a live Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. Please use your questions chat option on the right side of your screen to send over any questions you have so we can answer them accordingly. And without further ado, Chris, I will let you go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Lindsay. Good
You
day,
bet.
everyone. Thanks for joining me. Just as Lindsay said, I'm the President and CEO of Soligenix, have been in the biotech pharma industry for over 30 years now. Have been with Soligenix for almost 15 years. So what I'll be presenting today has been the fruits of my labor and my teams in building out this robust rare disease pipeline. We are a Nasdaq listed company. Our ticker is SNGX. Before beginning, the forward-looking statements, I'm obligated to put this up legally. It essentially says what I'm telling you here today is our best estimates and is subject to change in the future. So who is Soligenix? Soligenix is a late-stage biopharmaceutical company focused on developing and commercializing products to treat rare diseases where there's currently an unmet medical need. We have two unique areas of focus. We have a specialized biotherapeutics business segment dedicated to oncology and inflammation, and a separate public health solutions business segment funded entirely by the government, focused on vaccines and therapeutics for military and civilian applications. And most notably, we do have an early stage COVID-19 vaccine, which I'll briefly touch upon a little bit later in the presentation. Investment highlights. As you'll see on the slide that follows this one, we have multiple parts with orphan and or fast track designation. Each of us hold the potential for significant commercial returns. And we are a late stage development company. We have phase 3 assets, one that has already had successful data readout, a positive phase 3, and that's in cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, or CTCL, and we treat with SNGX 301, which is a topical synthetic hypericin that's activated with safe visible fluorescent light. We demonstrated statistical significance in our phase 3 study. The study is now complete, and we're preparing to submit a new drug application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, in the second quarter of this year. We also have a pediatric Crohn's disease program with another molecule, SNGX 203, an oral beclomethasone dipropionate. This phase 3 has been cleared through the FDA, but we're holding on that one, waiting for additional funding, namely partnership. We have a strong balance sheet with cash runway through 2020, currently in excess of $30 million. And we recently put a strategic investment partnership together with a very well-known fund known as Pontifex. It's based in Israel. We have collaboration with biotech, academia, and government agencies, and hopefully additional follows, very active on the business development front, as well as very active in our pursuit of non-dilutive government funding. Since I've been with the organization, we brought in excess of $80 million of non-dilutive funding to fund various programs across our pipeline, and are currently operating with some very nice funding today for some of our programs. And we have an experienced management team and board, as well as scientific advisors, moving the company forward. So here's a snapshot of that rare disease pipeline. As you see, essentially everything is orphan and or fast track designated. What jumps out of here are these green highlighted arrows. These are the programs funded in part or entirely by the government. Again, the public health solutions funded entirely by the government. And what that funding has allowed us to do is not only move forward very good technology, but really build out a more robust pipeline than you typically see for a company our size, with multiple shots on goal to mitigate risk, a lot like a financial portfolio. Here are multiple potential value drivers. There's quite a bit. As you see, the 2020 or the green are those we've achieved. The blue are preclinical and or clinical data reads, and the orange are regulatory. So as you see, throughout 2021 into 22, quite a bit of key inflection points, and I'll briefly focus upon above the dotted line with SNGX 301. That's the cutaneous T-cell lymphoma phase 3 study that has already demonstrated statistical significance, positive. We'll be filing that new drug application with the FDA, if all goes according to plan, the second quarter of this year, and expect approval mid next year. So a lot of activity going on there. And I'll spend a little bit of time here outlining really the commercial opportunity for this program, which is quite significant. Here's the total addressable global markets. Again, the assumptions that establish or drive those numbers are to the right. I won't go into any great detail. I'll just say we remain very opportunistic with regard to business development, but also realize a number of these areas are tailor-made for a small company like Soligenix to commercialize. Where we have our public health solutions, where you predominantly have one customer being the government, commercialization is pretty straightforward with a single customer. But even an area like cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, highly specialized orphan disease that does not require a large commercial unit to really move this forward effectively. So in the United States, that's what we intend to do, and I'll bring you through in a little bit more detail of how we intend to do that. So I'll jump right into the specialized biotherapeutics. You've seen this. This is the top half of that rare disease pipeline. And again, our commercial targets here, unmet medical needs in oncology and inflammation. What is cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, or CTCL? CTCL is a rare class of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which malignant T cells migrate to the skin's surface to form patches, lesions, or tumors. CTCL affects over 40,000 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma patients worldwide, and there's currently no cure, and that's very important to remember. Remember, our therapy is not a cure. You treat the lesions, they go away, they come back again. They come back in the same location, different location. So as you would imagine, in a disease like this, which is a chronic cancer, the safety of the therapy is just as important as the efficacy. The market is substantial, 250 million total addressable global market worldwide annually, and in excess of 90 million in the US alone in annual net sales. There are two main subtypes of CTCL, mycosis fungoides, which is the early stage disease, that's that upper right-hand diagram, which makes up the large majority of these patients, in excess of 90%. And then you have a smaller subgroup known as Sézary syndrome, which is that disturbing middle picture, which is late stage disease. As you imagine, your prognosis for survival is not very good there. There's currently no approved first-line therapy for early stage CTCL. Again, makes up the large majority of these patients. It's an area of unmet medical need. So here, the FDA has not only granted us orphan, but fast track designation. We look to treat with SNGX 301. This is our topical synthetic hypericin ointment, followed by activation with safe visible light. It's a first-in-class therapy, and the diagram, I think, is quite clear. You have your lesions, you apply the ointment, you then get your course of light therapy, and you have a clearing of those lesions or a shrinking of those lesions. And what our phase 3 data shows is that we have a very rapid treatment response. So our phase 3 data demonstrated statistical significance in as early as 6 weeks, and that significance or that response continued to improve through 12 and 18 weeks, where most CTCL treatments require at least 12 months to observe a statistically significant response. We also demonstrated equal efficacy in both patch and deeper plaque lesions, where other CTCL treatments known to be useful against patches, but typically are lacking in the efficacy against plaques. And we really drive this rationale of why we have the equal efficacy in both patches and plaques to that diagram to the right, where you see SNGX 301 plus visible light. Our visible light, you have deep penetration. So it can really, with SNGX 301, we can get to the deeper plaque lesions, and our treatment is extremely safe. Minimal adverse events, where other CTCL therapies carry a number of acute and chronic side effects. We use safe visible light, and a lot of the photodynamic therapy out there uses ultraviolet light, the equivalent of sunlight, which is carcinogenic. So very concerning, where our therapy, our light source, fluorescent light, extremely safe. Here's our phase 3 clinical trial. The diagram, I'll walk you through there, and obviously this is all completed now, but in cycle 1, we really built this study to be a highly powered, double-blind, placebo-controlled randomized study, and placebo-controlled and randomized and blinded in cycle 1, where we treated twice a week for 6 weeks, and then we allowed 2 weeks for the redness to clear from the photodynamic therapy, and we measured our endpoint at 8 weeks, and we focused on 3 index lesions on the skin. And that's where we had that statistically significant response. We then have a crossover design where all patients then got the drug, and if you were receiving the drug in cycle 1, then you continue to get it for your second 6-week treatment for a total of 12 weeks. Your placebo, you crossed over in the open label cycle 2 and got your 3 index lesions treated with the drug. And that was for an additional 6 weeks. For 12 weeks, we allowed that, again, 2 weeks to clear and measured at 16 weeks. And that's where that response continued to improve. And then if you went through the first 2 cycles, you could then get all your lesions treated. This was an optional compassionate use or safety cycle known as cycle 3. And the large majority of patients continued to stay in the study, get all their lesions treated, which obviously shows that both patients and clinicians saw an effect and thought that the therapy is working. And in fact, it was. As you see to the left, we have some pretty significant p-values there as you go into cycle 2 and cycle 3, where you have p-values of less than 0.0001. Can't get more significant than that. And a very good data set, and safety continued for the 6-month follow-up of this study. So this is the basis for our new drug application filing with the FDA. And now I'll take you through some of the commercial aspects of this therapy, which I think are quite unique. Photodynamic therapy, is a mainstay treatment for early stage CTCL. You have our ointment, SGX 301, that the patient will apply to their skin. They then go into the doctor's office for a short course of treatment. You literally stand in front of the light for about roughly 4 to 5 minutes to twice a week to get that treatment. So very straightforward there. And I think the nice aspect of here, especially with the dermatologic area, is that many of these dermatologists are very experienced in giving photodynamic therapy. They've been using ultraviolet A, the concerning UVA and UVB light, that's the equivalent of sunlight that has long-term side effects. They've been using that for quite some time, and they know photodynamic therapy very well. But one thing that we also know from them using it for quite some time is the detrimental side effects. And I think the quote at the bottom really sums it up. As one specialist dermatologist noted, he said, "I trained in the 90s, and some of my mentors use UV light therapy without thinking twice. Now you are exchanging CTCL disease that will not harm you for skin cancers and melanoma, something that is not only disfiguring, but also a more life-threatening disease." So again, these are some of the long-term effects that we know. And if you recall, this is a chronic cancer, you're treating it and trying to maintain it. It's early stage diseases. So many of these patients will be treated for years, if not decades. So it's really, I think our therapy is quite unique in this landscape. And SGX 301 has the utilization potential to grow here as we start to and have the potential to transition to home use in the commercial setting as well. Dermatologists, KOLs play a pivotal role in treatment of early stage disease. And what's important to note here is that most CTCL patients who go to key opinion leaders or KOLs for diagnosis will remain with that KOL for their care and treatment. And even those that maybe need to go on to a referring physician because of travel distances, they remain active with their KOLs who will guide their treatment with their local dermatologist. So I think the nice thing with our program, our study, is that in our phase 3 study, the majority of the CTCL key opinion leaders in the United States participated in our clinical study. So we pretty much have interacted with all of the key opinion leaders during phase 3, and they're eager to continue to support this program moving forward through the commercialization, which is a very nice aspect in this highly specialized orphan disease. Here is that significant opportunity for improvement in the current treatment paradigm, as I've alluded to, and I think this gives a nice visual here, because if you recall, CTCL is a chronic cancer. Long-term treatment cycles do occur, and the clinicians choose therapies with better safety profiles first and foremost. And as you can see in the current treatment paradigm, topical steroids are typically used off-label. They're not approved in CTCL until a diagnosis. And then patients begin their treatment in CTCL. And as you see here, there is no first-line or front-line approved therapy for CTCL. SGX 301 has the potential to be the first. The therapies that are used, many of them are off-label, not approved, like the ultraviolet A light and B light I spoke of, as you see here. And again, associated with very detrimental side effects as you use it, increased risk of cancer. Even the therapies that are approved, there's only 2, are second-line therapies because of their safety profiles, and you need to first fail skin-directed therapy. So we're really dealing with a limited pool here in treatments, especially safe options for patients. So again, SGX-301 fits into this treatment paradigm very nicely with a lot of opportunity. And as you see in the quote below, the specialist dermatologist noted, we only have 2 FDA-approved treatments with lots of side effects. So again, that gets to the heart of not only the efficacy, but the importance of safety in this disease. The advantages of commercializing CTCL is very clear. It's a concentrated prescriber base that allows for an efficient sales force footprint. Our planned launch focuses on high-volume specialists and their referral base in the community. And we're likely to only need a sales force of approximately 20 reps, which will reach in excess of 80% of those high-volume prescribers. And as I noted, many of these key opinion leaders were involved in our study. So we already have that direct contact relationship with the CTCL specialists. For us, pre-launch cost to launch us, roughly about $7 million. If those familiar with traditional big pharma launches or biotech launches, they could be tens of millions. We're talking about a highly specialized area, very focused. Even the annual marketing and sales costs are less than $10 million here on an annual basis. So a very reasonable, I'll say, build launch expense. And payers are likely to cover the drug and light treatment if shown to be safe and efficacious, which our data has shown that potential. And CTCL treatment does not have a large financial impact on payers. SGX-301 light treatment will likely be reimbursed under a CPT code, and the KOL and patient advocacy organizations will likely support coverage, and we work very closely with patient advocates as well, most notably the Cutaneous Lymphoma Foundation, which is the key or premier foundation in the cutaneous T-cell lymphoma space we've been working with throughout our phase 3 program. So here kind of is a summation of some of the points I've given you that gives you that sense of the significant near-term commercial opportunity that's addressing a clear unmet medical need. And it really is based on four key elements or pillars. The unmet medical need first and foremost. Clinicians see the need for additional treatment options with fewer side effects. The chronic nature of the early stage disease and the dissatisfaction with current therapies provides an opportunity for SGX-301 or synthetic hypericin. The positive feedback we received from our primary market research, which a dermatologist not only liked the efficacy of the therapy, but the rapid, which includes the rapid response with equal effect on both patches and plaques, but the safety of the therapy, the use of safe visible light versus the damaging UV light exposure. An efficient commercialization where our planned launch focuses on high volume CTCL specialists, targeted sales force of roughly about 20 reps that gives a wide reach in excess of 80% of the high volume prescribers. And then we also have a very important partnership in place with a medical device company known as Dabbling that allows for a convenient end-to-end business solution for a companion light unit to our customers. And that this medical device company Dabbling not only has the infrastructure and presence in the US, but Europe as well, which is very important. And the sales potential. Our anticipated launch is in the second half of 2022 after we file the new drug application in the second quarter of this year. Our estimated peak US annual sales are in excess of $90 million with life cycle management upside. That includes not only transition to more home use over time, but other indications, which could include orphans to psoriasis. And we're positioned very nicely with many of the therapies that are approved being second line with those concerning side effects. So it really presents a unique opportunity and a tailor-made opportunity for a small company like Soligenix to commercialize, and we are moving in that direction. We actually had in early January, had a CTCL Investor Day where we went through, it's on our website, where we reported and went through this commercial strategy with our key opinion leaders in quite some detail, and that is recorded and on our website. The other aspect of our business that I'll focus on briefly is our public health solutions. You've seen this before. This is the bottom half of that rare disease pipeline. Again, just to reorient you, medical countermeasures for civilian and military applications funded entirely by the government. We have our lead vaccine program here is our ricin toxin vaccine, known as Rivax. This is a biodefense type of application. Those not familiar with biodefense, you obviously cannot do clinical trials in humans here. It would be unethical. So you do your equivalent of phase 3 studies in animals, typically non-human primates. And our heat-stable ricin toxin vaccine demonstrated 100% protection in a non-human primate aerosol challenge model. This was a pilot model, but really set the stage for that proof of concept. We've demonstrated safety of our vaccine alone in multiple phase 1 studies in healthy volunteers. Ricin toxin is of increasing interest to the U.S. government and governments worldwide because of its ease of procurement and making. It's a byproduct of the castor bean. With a drying oven and some solvents, you can make this very easily in a kitchen. So a very easy toxin to make that is quite lethal when exposed. And we have the potential to be the first approved ricin tox vaccine, as we're the world leader in development here. A nice aspect of the biodefense sector is the fact that not only, obviously, the first goal is to get procurement contracts with the government, but the biodefense now qualifies for what's known as a priority review voucher. So if you're fortunate enough to get your therapy across the finish line with the FDA and get approval, the FDA will give you this voucher that you could transfer to other companies that are looking for a priority review for a faster review cycle with their application. You can sell these vouchers. The last voucher sold for approximately $100 million. So that's a nice added feature in the biodefense sector, and we think our ricin tox vaccine qualifies very nicely for that voucher. We do have worked in fast track. We have worked in Europe as well, and we are currently operating under an NIH contract. And NIH has funded this entire program for the last 6 years, upwards towards $40 million. So quite a significant amount of investment has gone into this program by the U.S. government. Last program, very briefly, is our heat-stable COVID-19 vaccine candidate, Syvax we call it. We've demonstrated positive proof of concept, really broad and robust protection and immunogenicity in a mouse model. Still have some work to do. Obviously, this is a high priority for all the world governments. And our nice added feature is the fact that our vaccine is not only a subunit vaccine, very much a traditional vaccine that we've seen for many, many years with a very well-established safety profile, but also it's heat stable. We can demonstrate with our vaccine, Syvax, as well as our ricin tox vaccine, Rivax, we can store in excess of 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Reconstitute with sterile water for injection. It maintains 100% of its activity, zero degradation. So very good data, and easy to distribute this without the need for cold chain. We collaborate with our Syvax vaccine with University of Hawaii at Manoa, and we'll continue to move this forward. We're currently operating under an NIH small business grant of approximately $1.5 million, and are very active on trying to secure additional funding to continue to advance and accelerate this program. This slide briefly gives you our management board. The experienced one to our left, our management team, all started our careers in big pharma, but since then spent many years building and growing biotech companies, complemented by a strong board of directors to the right with deep experience in business, finance, drug development. Most notably on our board, Dr. Jerry Zeldis, who was the chief medical officer of Celgene Corporation for many years before retiring. And a recent addition to our board, Ms. Diane Parks, who comes with over 30 years of commercial experience in the rare disease setting. So a welcomed addition to our board, in addition to a very productive and experienced board. So in summary, short presentation, but hopefully in the short period, I've been able to demonstrate that we have multiple parts with orphan or fast track with significant commercial returns, most notably our cutaneous T-cell lymphoma program of SNGX 301. We demonstrated a positive phase 3 study, filing a new drug application in the second quarter of this year, where we anticipate approval in the second half of next year, and are building that commercialization infrastructure to launch this ourselves and to maintain the lion's share of the value at this asset with peak sales in excess of $90 million annually. And then we also have a pipeline behind that, not only in the therapeutics, but in the public health solutions. We have a strong balance sheet with cash runway through 2022. Collaborations with biotech, academia, and government agencies, hopefully additional follows. We're in a number of confidential discussions with a focus on ex-US partnership. Also very active in non-dilutive funding, have non-dilutive funding, continue to pursue that non-dilutive funding to offset our burn and manage our expenses as best we can. And a strong management team and board and scientific advisors moving the company forward to success. So with that, I will thank you for your time. I would just urge anyone that has an interest in learning more about Soligenix to please visit the website. We keep a lot of good information on there, as well as a recording of this presentation that will hopefully answer any additional questions, and always available to meet, talk, and answer any questions you may have. But again, thank you for your time.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much. And yes, to all of our attendees, jumping into Q&A. So again, using your questions chat option on your control panel, sending over those questions so we can dive right in. Chris, I'm going to get started. First off, congratulations on the success in phase 3. That's really exciting. Let's see, will you be presenting the phase 3 data in the CTCL at any upcoming medical society conferences?
We will, in fact. We talked about it briefly on our investor call in January, but we're looking to present this data at the American Academy of Dermatology. That will be in the April timeframe. We'll be presenting, and then we also plan to present at the Investigational Society of Dermatology, that I believe is in May. So we actually will be presenting various aspects of these data in 2 public forums, as well as, obviously, as you would imagine with any phase 3, driving towards a publication here later this year as well.
Fantastic. And Chris, can you remind us what is the worldwide addressable CTCL market, and what do you expect your peak sales to be do you expect your peak sales to be in the US?
Sure. So as I noted, the total addressable market is roughly 250 million annually, is what we're estimating. We may be a little conservative, because if you look at those assumptions, we base it off of really focused predominantly on US and Europe. It didn't take into account other regions of the world in our worldwide assessment. And in the US itself, we expect our peak annual sales to be in excess of $90 million annually, which is obviously a very nice annual sales, and obviously provides a lot of opportunity for growth there, as I noted, as we transition to potential home use, and then life cycle management with other indications with the synthetic hypericin beyond CTCL.
Fantastic. And Chris, there seems to be a lot of M&A transactions in the pharmaceutical industry. What is your position on being bought out by another pharma company?
Well, as you know, I have to be a little careful here, but what I would say is, first and foremost, what I always like to run is our focus is building shareholder value, and we're continuing to do that, and whatever form that takes. So as you would imagine, whether it's partnership, whether it's M&A, if we listen to all offers, we discuss them as a board, and we do what's best for the shareholders. So all options are on the table always, and we'll continue to build that shareholder value and move the company and pipeline forward. And if the opportunity is there and makes sense, it's something that would not be out of the realm of possibility. I'll say that.
Awesome. Now, Chris, you didn't mention much about your late-stage pediatric Crohn's program. Is there any updates on that?
No updates there other than just business development discussions. We put that on the back burner for now. Although the phase 3 protocol is cleared through the FDA, it's really we're looking for partnership predominantly and in some discussions, but we've really been focused on the late-stage programs, especially CTCL, towards the regulatory filing and commercial build.
Okay, perfect. And what can you give us a little bit more insight to what made you decide to commercialize instead of partner in the US?
Sure. As I said, this is a highly specialized area, very unique area, cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. And we were in a number of discussions over the last year, and as we were doing our own market research and understanding the commercial opportunity, what we were really understanding is there was a value gap between what we were being offered and what we believed where we could bring this particular opportunity to. And typically, even in phase 2, when you're commercializing, you maintain less than half of the value of the asset. Here, as I noted, it's highly specialized. Most of the key CTCL centers and key opinion leaders were involved in our phase 3. We only need about roughly 20 sales reps to commercialize this effectively. So when we really looked at what it would cost us to really move this forward versus partnering, giving away more than half of the value, it really didn't make sense to us. So we decided in the United States to focus on commercialization ourselves, that modest build, and then partner at ex-US. That's not saying that if, like we talked about M&A, if somebody comes in here and gives us an offer to knocks our socks off, we may not reconsider. But right now, our focus is to commercialize. The value is there. We have a clear path and plan. And in addition to that investor call that we gave an update in January, we're going to continue to provide periodic updates on our progress on the commercial front. It's quite exciting, and I think it's quite a unique opportunity, as I said, tailor-made for Soligenix to really build value.
Fantastic. Now, switching gears a little bit here, since we've all been in the pandemic for the last year, when should we expect additional data from your COVID-19 vaccine? And how is that vaccine different from anything that's currently out?
No, I think, forgive me flipping slides here, but as you noted at the very beginning of the presentation, I provided a potential value driver slide, which really outlined the key value drivers, the predominantly data, the blue boxes. And as you see below the dotted line, below SGX-301 is the public health solution predominantly. So you see quite a bit of preclinical and clinical data reads over the next years, quite a bit of preclinical reads specifically in 2021. And with Cyvax, we just had just recently some additional preclinical data. Expect some non-human primate data in the next quarter there. And where we're unique is, I think, across our vaccine platform, is all our vaccines are heat stable. So we've coupled them with a very unique proprietary technology that we call Thermovax. And what this allows us to do is freeze dry our vaccines with the adjuvants, everything, the entire vaccine, into a powder so it can be stored outside the refrigerator for extended periods of time. We have data on some of our vaccines in excess of 1 year at over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And then when we add sterile water, shake it up, it goes into solution very quickly, 100% active, no degradation. So as you would imagine, around the COVID-19, we've heard a lot about the vaccines, the need for freezing and these very stringent storage conditions. That's not the case for our vaccine. It's we can ship worldwide in the developing world very nicely, and do not have to worry about losing potency or activity because of degradation. And that's one thing where I think we show a very unique aspect with our particular vaccine formulation.
Great, that's really exciting. Switching over to finances, what is your current cash position? Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Sure. As I noted, our cash is over $30 million, which really gives us a runway to advance not only currently what's in our pipeline, but new indications, as well as build commercialization, which you recall in the presentation, it was roughly about $7 million, and some of that work's already been done. So I think we're positioned very nicely with our current cash, and that does not include the non-dilutive funding, the grants, and some of the other non-dilutive funding we received to offset the burn of our pipeline, and then some other instruments we have at our disposal if we need them. So I think we're positioned very nicely with the cash runway, well into 2022, if not through 2022.
That's really great. And let's see, about your pipeline, do you plan to add any new technology to the pipeline?
We're always looking for new technology, and as you would imagine, when you're beginning to commercialize in a particular area, which is our oncology dermatology setting, you're always looking for products that you can continue to move through, ideally mid to late stage clinical assets that we could then commercialize and continue to add to that sales reps bag. So we continue to look at that, but there's also, with our existing technology, there's life cycle management, as many companies do, where you look at other indications where this technology can expand. We believe there's some opportunity with our pipeline for that expansion as well. So we'll be looking to continue to expand the pipeline with some of our technology, and then ideally maybe bring in an asset or two in the coming months that we could then add to the bag and beginning to build that critical mass in the onc derm setting.
Great. Chris, that seems to be all the questions that have pulled through so far. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we get ready to sign off for today?
No, Lindsay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank everyone that took the opportunity to listen. I'd like to thank them for their time. And again, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Check the website, a lot of good information there. We try to put as much information on the website as possible. And again, just thank you and stay tuned. We have a lot going on in this year, and we're going to be executing.
Yes, and on behalf of everyone at Family Office Networks, we thank everyone, and especially Chris, for presenting for us today. And I will be following up with everyone individually as well. I hope you have a great day, and we'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.